Hello everyone and welcome back guys to episode 61, round 14 of season 3 of the F1 2019 HAAS Road to Glory career mode, where today we're here back at the Italian Grand Prix, the home of speed, the festival of speed, whatever you want to call it. It is one of the best circuits on Formula 1 and pretty much always has been in my eyes on the Formula 1 calendar. It is a really big highlight of the season, and especially, you know, it comes straight after Spa. How on earth can Formula 1 put two of the best tracks together on the calendar? But coming into this weekend though, big news coming in from Carl. You can see Matt, Roman, some important information for you two. Looks like we're probably going to have some regulation changes next year. We think this will affect multiple departments, but we aren't sure which ones yet. Be cautious when it comes to investing in upgrades, as we may have to start adapting them for next year when these changes are confirmed. So that is really important for us. You know, this is our big chance to make big gains towards the top competitors in this series. Now, hopefully, in the perfect world for us, in all honesty, it would be all three areas, all four areas even, I should say, of the car would get changed, you know, so we can just try and farm some points, farm some R&D, and really help ourselves out. But yeah, speaking though of farming the R&D points, then obviously that's what we need to do anyway at the moment. I've basically decided, you know, hopefully when changes were going to come in, that we would just be focusing on getting the car completely ready for Season 4. You know, Season 3 has basically been a write-off. There's been some good moments, but yeah, for the most part, obviously not really any highlights coming out of this season so far. So that's why, like I said, we're putting all our focus into next year's car here, and obviously hopefully we can try and make some progress and really find ourselves fighting with the top competitors in Formula 1. Obviously this is being played on the original version of the game still, you know, without the AI nerf in terms of R&D, so we have made it pretty much as difficult for ourselves as we possibly could. So that's obviously why we have struggled so much in comparison. You know, I don't want to make it easy for myself. It is quite clear, to say the least, here. But as you can see though, at the end of free practice, you know, we farmed through most of the programs there. 5 greens, 4 purples, 290 points, 412 altogether. Takes us just over 700 points here. So hopefully that'll help us make some progress. But let's get ready then. It's time for the Italian Grand Prix qualifying.
The pit lane will be open shortly, which means it's nearly time for qualifying for the Italian Grand Prix here in Monza.
So here we are then in Italy for the qualifying session. Obviously this is probably going to be one of our best shots of getting through into Q2 and Q3 in this series so far. Obviously we've got a really good power unit under us at the moment. We've basically maxed it out. I think we've got 2 upgrades left currently on the power unit side of things. You can see a 118.3 there, you know, just getting to grips with the car. Vettel on a 116.3. That is absolutely phenomenal pace. But yep, that 118.3 fairly simply would get us through into Q2 there. You can see Vettel on a 116.3, 4/10 clear of Hamilton in Q1 there. You can see both Renaults second and third. But, you know, Racing Point, Renault, Red Bull, probably the 3 big hitters as we head to Monza. You know, I'm sure they'll all be wanting to try and take home some glory this weekend. Obviously, Ferrari, I'd love to say, you know, we were going to see some Tifosi home success, but to be honest, I just can't see it at the moment. But anyway, though, moving on into Q2, obviously, like I said, this could be, you know, one of our shots to get through into Q3. It doesn't happen all too often in this series. I think we've only made it to Q3 twice, maybe 3 times so far in the rest of this series. Obviously back at Britain, and then I think back at Azerbaijan as well, we definitely made it into Q3, but I think those 2 are the only 2 so far. And coming towards the end of our first Q2 run there, you can see a 118.136 was an okay lap, but you can see right towards the end of the session there, we were right on the cusp of trying to get through into Q3 here. So we would go out for one final run right at the end of the session there, almost 225 miles an hour as we break down in towards turn 1 there. Tried to ride the curbs nice and tidy there, and it's so difficult, you know, you just got to try and manage the wheel spin on the exit of the corner there. But going already 2/10 clear of my previous best before we even get at the first couple of corners there, so that was quite reassuring as we head on through the Lesmos here. You can see we're still about 2/10 up over my previous lap, but starting to make a couple of little mistakes. It's starting to get a little bit sloppy. You can see we do get still quite a good run out of the second Lesmo there, down the back straightaway here in towards the Sky. You can see we're about 3/10 up now over my previous best. Pin it at the 100-meter board there, completely down on at the anchors there, and try to get a good run through the Ascari chicane there. A little bit tidier than last time around. You can see we're almost half a second up now as we head down in towards the final couple of corners of Sector 3 here. Can we keep it tidy through Parabolic here? Try to get the run, try to use up all of that exit curve there, use all of the ERS we've got as well. Half a second up as we head down towards the finish line there, and somehow that was P4 at the end of Q2. Now obviously the AI, they tend to go a little bit slower in Q2. It's a bit of a weird bug I've noticed on F1 2019 there. But you can see Verstappen 0.6 clear at the front of the field there, and then everyone else separated by 0.3 of a second that made it through into Q3. You can see Devon Butler just missing out there. But yeah, it was myself, the Racing Points, the Red Bulls, the Renaults, the Ferraris, and Lando Norris there in the Williams. But Q3, it's certainly going to be very, very tough. Obviously, we've only got one run as well here, as I use both sets of my soft compound tyres here. And like I said, you know, Q3 is where, as you'd expect, all the teams just go absolutely balls to the wall there. Weber setting a 1:16.4, Hamilton a 1:16.1 as we head down in towards the final couple of corners. Seb fractionally outside the 1:15 there, and you can see just how quick these cars are in the HAAS Road to Glory career mode there. Obviously, the lap record in real life is still a 1:19, and yet we're almost breaking down into the 1:15s here in this series. But over the line, though, it's only a 17.3 at the end of the day. Only a real life lap record by 2 seconds at the end of qualifying. And happy I got that lap hooked up when I did. Unfortunately, though, it was still only P10 at the end of the day there. But yeah, Vettel on pole ahead of Leclerc. So both of Ferrari's old drivers on the front row in front of the Ferrari team. Now, not too sure how they'll feel about that. You can see Weber, the top Ferrari, in P4 ahead of Verstappen, Hülkenberg, Bottas, Norris, Gasly, and myself rounding out the top 10 there. And let's jump on then. It's time for Monza.
It's race day here in Italy once again. Monza, home to so many records. The smallest winning margin, for example. Do you remember in 1971, Peter Gethin beat Ronnie Peterson to the line by 1/100th of a second. There were 40 overtakes for the lead alone in 1965, and Kimi Raikkonen clocked a record top speed of 230 miles per hour here, just over a decade ago. So there's a lot to live up to then for all of our drivers today. With top speeds up to 215 miles per hour and an average lap speed of around 155 miles per hour, Monza's reputation as one of the fastest circuits in the sport is well earned. We have 11 corners on this 3.6-mile track, with the best overtaking chance coming into the heavy braking zone of the Turn 1 chicane. A warm welcome to Anthony Davidson, who's beside me in the commentary box today. So let's chat about Daniel Kvyat. As ever, the threat of unreliability is never far away, and indeed they'll be starting out of position today due to a power unit component change. So it's going to be a difficult task to move forward from there.
Everyone has to deal with penalties or reliability issues from time to time throughout their career. You just have to suck up the pain and get on with the job at hand. Today isn't about performing a miracle to put the car back where it should be. It's about effective damage limitation.
It's time to take a look at our starting grid for today's race. Sebastian Vettel will start on pole. Fantastic qualifying from the multiple world champion. And it's Charles Leclerc in P2. Looking down the rest of the grid, we have Hamilton, Weber, Max Verstappen, and Hülkenberg, Bottas, Norris, Gasly, and Mr. Monaco, Butler, Perez, Daniel Ricciardo, and Sainz, Giovinazzi, Grosjean, Lance Stroll, and Kimi Raikkonen. Albon and Daniel Kvyat completes the grid. And with preparations almost complete, let's head down to the track.
This is our engine supplier's home Grand Prix. Let's give them a race worth watching.
So, Jeff, just obviously reminding us that, you know, the Ferrari power unit strapped to the back of this car, I'm sure, around such a power-orientated circuit, Ferrari want to see some success from their, from their teams as well here. But having a look at the race strategy, obviously, this track is pretty easy on tyres for the most part. You know, there's a couple of traction zones that you might struggle with, but it is going to be a fairly textbook one-stop strategy here. But we are ready on the grid. The 5 lights are coming on now for the Italian Grand Prix, and it is lights out, and away we go there. And so much for the AI haven't got hampered starts anymore. You know, that was absolutely phenomenal by Norris, Butler, and I think that's Ricciardo trying to look around the outside down in towards turn 1 there. Perez actually going into the back of his teammate, though, through the first couple of corners. Picks himself up a little bit of front wing damage as we head out of the first chicane, though. But we've kept it nice and tidy. Did recover a couple of those places there, so we are still up in P11 here. But really today, the aim is to get some points on the board here. You know, we don't know how many chances we're going to get in the late stages of this championship here as we head down in towards Sector 2 there. Gasly and Perez side by side in towards the first Lesmo there, but the bravery of Gasly right around the outside he goes, and you can see he does hold on in P9 in the race there. But on to lap 2, you can see we're still all up over the rear of Sergio Perez here as we make the long run down towards turn 1 there. The Williams man is going to go defensive in towards the first braking zone there, but surely that front wing damage, I should say, is going to cost him a lot of time over the course of this first stint here. You know, although the downforce levels, you know, you're really running very little wing around this circuit. You know, it is still absolutely critical that, you know, you've got that turn in right when you need it here. And you can see we're going to go full send up the inside of Perez. They're locking at the front wheel as he just doesn't have the downforce over that front tyre there. And we now move ourselves up inside the points once again, back to where we started in this Grand Prix there. And that was an absolutely critical move that we needed to make here, because you can see Gasly already a good 2 seconds up the road here as we get loose out of the second Lesmo here. Bottas coming over the radio with issues as well here, so hopefully we can try and capitalise on that in the near future as well. But yeah, this track, I've said it in previous seasons, obviously it is the closest style of racing you get to an oval on F1 29. You know, being in the DRS, being in the slipstream is so important around this circuit. As you can see, heading on to lap 3, we've got a 2-second margin to the guys in front, but everyone behind us, it's like a swarm of cars. You can see just slowly but surely closing in on the run down towards turn 1 there. You can see Bottas, now starting to slow up Lando Norris, though, with those engine issues, and it wouldn't be long, you can see, before Bottas was pretty much now just in front of us here. We've been able to pick up the DRS of the Ferrari man here, and, you know, this is not what Ferrari need in front of their home crowd. You know, they need a good, strong result here, and you can see as we head down in towards the final couple of corners of lap 3 here, right around the outside of Bottas there. He's got nothing in terms of defence. 3 wide of the road, though, between, I think that's Gasly as well as Hamilton, and I think, not too sure who the third car was, I don't know, in all honesty there. You can see up into P9 though, 1.1 seconds we just set our PB by in this Grand Prix there, so we're still finding pace in the car in the early stages. And yeah, like I said, it was really just about trying to keep in the slipstream, keep in the DRS, everything like that in the early stages of this race. You can see now onto lap 5, we're still trying to stick in the DRS of Lando Norris up the road there, but they're still squabbling just in front of him there. The two British men, Hamilton and Norris, going side by side just in front of us here as we head down in towards turn 1. But a huge train of cars now starting to form behind the other Ferrari of Lucas Weber. So hopefully, you know, we can try and capitalise on this over the next couple of laps. And it looks like Weber as well is having issues in this Grand Prix here. You can see he's completely fallen off the back of this train here. We're now trying to capitalise and make a move on him, just like we did to Bottas in towards Parabolica there. Go full send up the inside here. And what is happening to Ferrari in the early stages of this Grand Prix? We are now the highest placing Ferrari power unit car in this Grand Prix, as Weber now is trying to look back around the outside as we head down in towards turn 1 here. Is he going to be able to get it hooked up around the outside? Then we're going to be side by side in towards the braking zone there. A little bit of a lock-up. We're going to slot in just in front of him here. But yeah, what is happening to Ferrari in the early stages of this Grand Prix? Bottas is down outside the top 10. Weber is losing positions to a HAAS car that he's got no right to be fighting with Ferrari at this stage of the career mode there. And he's completely dropped off the back of this little train up the road there, as we're now trying to slot back up towards Gasly and the rest of that group here. But at the end of lap 9 though, you can see really starting to struggle with the understeer out of the final couple of corners here. So we're actually going to dive it in very very for our one and hopefully only pit stop of the Grand Prix there. Get the car slowed down beautifully on the marks, if I do say so myself there. But yeah, really struggling with the wear rates at the moment. So we're going to try and go for a bit of a cheeky undercut, build up a little bit of advantage if possible here. But obviously, like I said before, this track, all we need to do is be in the slipstream, and obviously you can find a lot of pace relative to a lot of the cars that are obviously stuck, isolated by themselves here. And you can see as we head out of the pit lane though, we've got a swarm of cars there, both the Toro Rossos and Raikkonen coming out right behind us there. So somehow, you know, Albon gets the car slowed down there, and that could have been an absolutely monumental collision between the three of us there. That could have been, you know, very very dramatic, but we would get back past all of those guys, and we would be trying to carve our way back through the lower end of the field here. Daniel Ricciardo in the Mercedes, not really what you want to be seeing around such a power-orientated circuit. Now Ricciardo getting relegated to P17 here. Stroll trying to look up the inside of Giovinazzi there. We tried to slot it, make it 3 wide there, but we do get past Gio as we head in towards the final few corners of lap 11 here. And now we need to try and get past Stroll. Obviously, all of these guys are just going to be losing me time at the moment there. Stroll, though, I don't think he's going to put up much of a fight as we head down in towards Parabolica there. And yeah, we now move ourselves back up into P14 of the Grand Prix here. So still at the moment, just trying to carve our way back through. You can see Weber now, the man who was just behind us there. We are going to be a good few seconds up the road from him. So this undercut has worked out quite nicely so far in this race. But obviously we're going to have to monitor the tyres in towards the latter stages of this Grand Prix here. And over the next couple of laps, so you can see Carlos Sainz still just in front of us here in the Mclaren, trying to go a little bit longer on his first stint here, just trying to take these tyres as best as possible there as we jump past Devon Butler and at the other Ferrari of Valtteri Bottas there. We're back up into P9, obviously it's effectively P8 once Sainz gets out of the way there as we head down in towards turn 1 there. Sainz just moving around a little bit in the braking zone there, wasn't too happy with that one there, and we do need to try and get past the McLaren man as quickly as possible here. And you can see as we head down in towards the second chicane here, just look how much we're closing down on Sainz there, but once again he just moves ever so slightly in the braking zone there, just picks a little bit of a defensive line right when I was least expecting it there, so we had to take the escape road there through the second chicane. In the end of lap 13, Sainz would finally get out of the way, and we move ourselves back up into P8 of the Grand Prix there. But you can see Weber only 3.2 seconds back behind us. We're going to have to wait and see how much he closes up over these next few laps here. I think Ferrari have got those issues sorted on that car, and you can see, yeah, instantly 9/10 taken out of me on that first lap of clear air there. And you can see over the next couple of laps, Weber would just be taking time out of us hand over fist at the moment. Another 6/10 out of us on the next lap here. And as we head on to lap 16, though, dramatic scenes in this Grand Prix there. Charles Leclerc is out of the Italian Grand Prix from what was P3 at this stage of the Grand Prix there. So heartbreak for the Monegasque driver there as we head down in towards Sector 3 here with just 10 laps to go of this Italian Grand Prix. They're not what Renault needed on, a track that can really test the reliability here. But speaking of moving up into P7 though, you can see Weber, he's going to try and relegate it straight away here. We're going to give him a big squeeze as we head down in towards Turn 1 there, but the Ferrari man definitely were looking to make that move stick there. Very forceful, very clear, and he now moves himself back up into P7 of the Grand Prix here. So we did have P7 for about 10 seconds in this race, which, in all honesty, I'll probably take rather worryingly at this stage of this series there. Because see, Weber, we were trying to stick in the DRS to him, trying to stay as close as possible for as long as possible here. Potentially his tyres go off towards the end, but unfortunately it wasn't meant to be there. And you can see as we head on to lap 20 there, Weber had got himself out of the DRS and was now slowly but surely building up a little bit of a margin here. And like with me, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. That basically was the end of our Italian Grand Prix in terms of action here. But still, we're just taking the points home at the end of the day there. Verstappen comes through the final lap to win the Italian Grand Prix there, and Honda, that is sending out a big message, obviously, with their power unit winning at the most power-orientated circuit on the Formula 1 calendar there. Gasly, his teammate, sets the fastest lap of the Grand Prix. He goes even quicker right at the very end there. So, Red Bull really just mucking around with everyone else at the moment here. But in towards the final couple of corners of this Italian Grand Prix, though, it's going to be from P10 on the grid to P8 at the end of the race there. 4 points on the board. I will certainly take that.
Alright, race over. Take care of the car on the way in.
So as they climb out of the car, the Red Bull team are ready and waiting to celebrate a thoroughly well-deserved win. What do you think it was, Ant, that gave them the edge over the competition today?
Well, I think it was clear what the main contributing factor out on the track was today: speed. I know it sounds like an obvious thing to say, Crofty, but fast cars win races, and we saw that today with our winner.
The drivers are en route to the podium as we speak. What a fantastic win for the Red Bull team. They performed exceptionally today, keeping us firmly on the edge of our seats throughout the entirety of the race. Congratulations to everyone at the team. And now let's take a look at the driver's standings. Today's performance means Max Verstappen now owns the top spot in the Drivers' Championship. Now let's discuss, Ants, who would you say is a contender for Driver of the Day?
Often my go-to would be a driver who's managed to pull off an especially impressive feat during the race. However, in this instance, I was more impressed by Max Verstappen's solid, clean driving throughout the event.
It's time to see how things are shaping up in the Constructors' Championship. Red Bull pull further ahead in the standings. I'm equal parts exhausted and elated with this weekend of Formula One. Be sure to join us for the next one.
So there we are then, guys, the end of the Italian Grand Prix, and it was Verstappen who took home the race victory ahead of the racing points there by over 10 seconds at the end of the day. There are 118.8. I think it was only the Red Bulls that were able to sneak into the 18s there. But you can see Hülkenberg in second, Vettel in third, ahead of Hamilton in P4 there, the only Renault to make it to the end of the Grand Prix there. Gasly in P5, picking up the fastest lap bonus point there, ahead of Lando Norris there. And Lucas Weber, 7th, and myself actually in a Ferrari sandwich at the end of the day there in P8. With 4 points on the board, I will take that ahead of Verstappen. Perez, who finishes in the final point scoring position there. Devon Butler, forever P11 it appears in this series, ahead of Romain Grosjean. Sainz, Ricciardo, Stroll, Giovinazzi and Raikkonen there, with both Toro Rossos and Charles Leclerc all falling to the wayside inside the final 10 laps there. So really not a day to remember for those guys in the end. But you can see in terms of the Drivers' Championship, Verstappen retakes the lead at the top of the table there. 6 points clear now of Sebastian Vettel there, and I think that is the only chopping and changing we've seen at this stage of the season there. Gasly, I should say, in third. Hülkenberg ahead of Hamilton and Leclerc there. Weber and Bottas ahead of myself. Now we're just 1 point clear of Lando Norris here, and I would certainly like to finish P9 in the table there, ahead of both Williams, both Mercedes there. My teammate in P14 there, ahead of the McLarens, Giovinazzi, Albon, Raikkonen and Kvyat there, all on still no points in the championship. And Red Bull, 9 points clear at the top of the constructors there. That is looking like a titanic battle between now and the end of the season. But thank you all so much for watching this video. Do get yourself subscribed if you're new around here and you do want to see more of the HAAS Road to Glory. We will be back next time for the Singapore Grand Prix.